Hello everyone, எல்லாரும் எப்படி இருக்கீங்க? நல்லா இருக்கிறீங்களா? வெல்கம் பேக் டு மை சேனல். ஓகேங்களா, புக் ரீடிங் சேனல். லெட்ஸ் see, today we begin a very special journey into a book that is very close to my heart, which is Spiritual Anatomy, written by our beloved master Daaji. So let us start this. Part 1, Your Spiritual Anatomy. Your inner journey, the key to real transformation. A long time ago, a saint and his disciples showed up at the gates of a kingdom seeking refuge. The gods offered food and water to the guests, while another god ran to inform the king. When the god reported, the king thought for a moment and asked for a pot of water. He summoned the guard to take the pot and offer it to the saint. The saint accepted the pot as if he would been waiting for it. He smiled at the guard and asked for a fistful of sugar. Guard, which is Guard. Is it right? The saint accepted the pot as if he would been waiting for it. He smiled at the guard and asked for a fistful of sugar, which he mixed into the water. The saint stirred the water to make sure the sugar dissolved, then asked the guard to return the pot of water to the king. The guard, now thoroughly confused, took the pot and raced back to the king. He offered the pot to the king and was about to speak when the king gestured for his silence. The king asked his minister to taste the water, who sipped and said, "The water tastes sweet, Your Highness." A smile appeared on the king's pursued lips. God, he ordered, uh, usher in the saint, rushing to the saint, and his encouraged with the greatest respect. Then he turned to his minister and said, "Please make sure they are afforded all comforts for their stay and extend the stay for as long as they need. If, like the soldier, you are wondering, this is what transpired. When the request for refuge reached the king, he sent a pot full of water to the saint. It was a cryptic message. We are already at capacity. How shall we accommodate all of you?" To which the saint responded, "Just as the sugar dissolves in the water and merges with it, we too shall integrate into your kingdom and infuse." One second. Sorry for the interruption. Let's see. So, அவர் என்ன சொல்றாரு பார்க்கலாம். And so, to which the saint responded, "Just as the sugar dissolves in the water and merges with it, we too shall integrate into our kingdom and infuse the sweet goodness of virtue and nobility in your people." The king valued the saint's wisdom and knew that the presence of wise soul would ennoble his people. Within each of us is the same daily struggle between the king and the saint. The king represents the everyday hero, the one with responsibilities, desires, aspirations, problems, wishes, opportunities, constraints, virtues, and vices, all packed into this life. We have so much on your plate that there is not room for anything more. The saint and his entourage represent our higher potential, the possibility of purpose, growth, and evolution that are knocking at the gate of our attention, ready to enhance our life provided we give them a chance. And we do because Deep inside, a voice inspires us to pursue the promise of transformation. The process of sugar dissolving in the water is the story of integration and merger, the highest ideal of our spiritual lives. The goal of our spiritual anatomy project is to integrate a fragmented existence by merging with higher levels of consciousness and achieve our true potential. Now, when I say anatomy, what comes to mind for you? More than likely, you thought of your physical anatomy, possibly vivid images from the high school biology textbook of the blue veins, reddish muscle fibers, and ivory like bones. Physical anatomy is an integrated system of organs working together. Similarly, mental anatomy is a connected system of consciousness, ego, intellect, and thinking that work together to create our ideas and emotions. Much is written about the physical and mental anatomies and how to nurture them, but there is a third, lesser known system called the spiritual anatomy. When awakened, this subtle energy system of the soul integrates our physical and mental anatomies, making us one with the universal existence and infusing lasting sweetness in our lives. Growth through integration. The word integration comes from the Latin integer meaning whole, intact. When you tend to your spiritual anatomy, you integrate your physical, mental, and spiritual anatomies to function in harmony as a unified whole. With integration, there is consonance between what you feel and what you wholeheartedly express. The heart and mind are aligned, and the alignment creates the circumstances for your growth. Yogic philosophy has a lot to say on the significance of integration. A definition of yoga is samadhi. The words yoga and samadhi have multiple meanings, and a popular definition of yoga is to unite. Samadhi, commonly understood as ecstasy or trance, is a much grander idea. Samadhi means the state that prevailed before creation came into existence. And that was a state of absolute balance, a state of oneness. So, yoga is samadhi, conveys a state of inner integration where everything is in balance, order, and harmony, resembling the state before creation. Imagine yourself in that state of absolute balance. What could you achieve? For a moment, consider the opposite, a state of entropy and imbalance where, lacking peace, the mind is distracted and eventually our life is disjointed and fragmented. Contrast with the state of integration and balance and how that could transform our life. Contrast with a state of integration and balance and how that could transform our life. Growth by integration is a journey in which we incrementally ascend through states of consciousness. It is like a long expedition with camps for rest and reflection. During those resting moments, we acclimatize to the surroundings and integrate with the environment before proceeding onward, consolidating what we gathered as we ascend. Our spiritual vision expands from the mundane to the magnificent. This will take time, but interest and effort speed the process. I refer to this grand journey as the Spiritual Anatomy Project. In Sanskrit, Yatra, a sacred journey to the center within and you. the traveler or the abhyasi, the one who practices. I also use the words aspirant and the practitioner for the abhyasi. No one can force you on the yatra or compel you to meditate. It is a willful undertaking inspired by the heart. But when you do, the heart sets out to speak to you, and you will learn to master the exceptional ability to listen and then muster the courage to abide by the heart's innate wisdom. The language of the heart is inspiration. When you meditate on the heart, its inspiration flows through your consciousness, creating ennobling thoughts. But if consciousness is blocked with prejudice, prejud- prejudice and the bias, spiritual poisons, these are the heart's inspirations cannot achieve their true potential. Think of the mineral kimberlite gushing up from deep in the earth's core, cutting through the earth's layers. If its path is blocked, it loses speed and gets stuck. But when rising unhindered, kimberlite can furnace a diamond. Think of all the year end resolutions, commitments, unexecuted promises, blamed on willpower, a lack of resolve, and a ruinous habit of judging oneself weak. What we do not realize is that the blocks in our consciousness frustrate our thinking and stall our resolve. Through the gift of meditation, those blocks can be removed. When you start your yatra, your spiritual anatomy project, you begin unblocking your consciousness. As a result, the heart's impulses flow more freely, inspiring feelings that create positive thoughts of growth and change. Your thoughts are the mind's feedback to explain, interpret, and rationalize your feelings. For example, when you feel upset after receiving criticism, your thoughts help you rationalize it by thinking, I'm hurt because I put in a lot of effort and expected prize. Similarly, when you are excited about a vacation, your thoughts can interpret this emotion by saying, I am thrilled because I need a break and have been looking forward to exploring a new place. In both cases, your thoughts provide cognitive feedback to explain and interpret your feelings. Feeling is the cause, thought is the effect, and action is the result. I think, therefore, I am is preceded by I feel, therefore I think. Your spiritual anatomy project works from the center to the circumference. You do not simply change on the outside, you transform from within. What happens when there is real inner transformation? Instead of seeing a glass as half full or half empty, you see the possibility of the glass designed for twice the capacity. New perspectives emerge, your field of action expands. Yep, you perform growth oriented actions that feel good, encourage you, and create more inspired feelings. Let's revisit the sequence. Inspirations from within to change your feelings, to change your thinking, to change your actions. As your consciousness is unblocked and evolves, you create a virtuous loop of inspired feelings, talking positive thought, resulting in purposeful action, a transformation engine. When this engine starts reviving, when this engine starts revving, you arrive at a new awareness that makes you realize a conscious purpose and meaning in life, and you work toward that end. You no longer resist life experiences. Instead, you imbibe the lessons from the roadblocks you face. The result of such a transformation is happiness. For perhaps the first time in your life, you experience happiness that is no longer conditional, that does not demand a material incentive. Your happiness is a settled and centered state of being. When you arrive into this happiness, you realize the elementary difference between happiness and pleasure, the McNugget variant of happiness. Nothing amiss with pleasure. We dine at fine restaurants, delight in the company of friends, enjoy a vacation, all of which bring temporary joy to our lives. We like pleasure, sometimes quite a lot, but we crave happiness. Discovering the conscious experience of lasting happiness is an early step in the journey toward integration. You soon discover the mechanisms of inner peace, compassion, and joy, leading to sublime levels of happiness of extraordinary worth because that kind of inner peace is sustainable. What I am sharing here is a matter of experience, and you can witness it in your own journey in a short period of time. Such are the results you get from working on your spiritual anatomy. You may be glad to know that the evidence of science and the wisdom of meditation point to the same truths. In her book, The Awakened Brain, by Dr. Liza Miller describes her cutting edge research on the science of spirituality using MRI studies, genetic research, and epidemiology about the benefits of working on one's spiritual core. She writes, we begin to live beyond a pieces and parts model of identity and a splintered, fragmented view of who we are to one another, and to cultivate a way of being built on a core awareness of love, interconnection, and the guidance and surprise of life. The journey from the limited idea of individual self to feeling the universal connection we share with creation to becoming one with the creation is the journey of consciousness. In the future, we will see and more that science and spirituality echo the same message. Working on the spiritual anatomy evolves our consciousness. An evolving consciousness infuses greater meaning and purpose into life and helps in achieving our true potential. So, how can you move in this direction? How do you commit to the spiritual anatomy project with the devotion it requires? Willingness and interest are the keys. What is needed from you? A bird needs both its wings to fly straight. To lead a life of growth and purpose, integrate the spiritual and worldly life by making everyday acts of life spiritual. Infuse your spirit, your heart into everyday acts. When you speak, speak from the heart. When you look at someone, look with compassionate eyes. When you see a family enjoying a meal, offer a silent prayer for their well being. When you see people suffering, help. The world is starved of hearts expressing themselves with generosity and nobility. Your spiritual actions are silent, heroic gestures that touch the hearts of others. The Spiritual Anatomy project starts with you from where you are in life. The responsibilities of family, work, and community are the training ground for love, acceptance, sacrifice, and forgiveness, the foundations for your growth. All you need are willingness and interest. When you practice of your own volition, and invest in self transformation. You integrate your life with the energy of your soul. You elevate the role of your heart from a biological pump to the vehicle of consciousness. If you are curious about spiritual anatomy, this book will still serve you well. If you are only interested in the basics of meditation to improve your focus, manage stress, and develop better habits, this book has great resources for you too. This is your project and you decide the trajectory you want. I'm here to help. The journey can be long and it would be nice to have friends along the way. My life's mission is to prepare love filled hearts blooming as celestial spiritual flowers in the diverse garden of humanity and living fearless, inspired lives. This book is a sincere effort to fulfill that mission, and I hope it inspires you to follow the path of self realization. The Awareness Atlas. If you want to drive from San Francisco to New York City, the simple instruction to drive east may be enough to get you started. But as you progress on the journey, you require more detailed directions, information about places to stay, scenic spots along the way, and so on. The journey from generic to specific is a natural progression. Similarly, the spiritual journey starts with a general level of self awareness. As our consciousness evolves, our awareness becomes more refined. We develop precision in understanding the nuances of our inner journey. We experience deeper levels of fulfillment and connection. The Awareness Atlas is a tool for you on the inner journey, carefully designed by a team of researchers at Heartfulness. This set of 23 questions is an aid for self reflection. I invite you to take this questionnaire now so that you can reflect on your starting place and then return to it once or twice a year as a check on your growing awareness. This may seem, in some ways, like an opportunity to evaluate yourself, but please think of the questionnaire as a chance to uncover your blind spots. After all, without awareness, we cannot grow. Taking the questionnaire, find a quiet place to answer these questions. It should not take you more than 10 to 15 minutes. I recommend recording your answers in a journal, though a copy of the questionnaire is also available for download at the websites www.spiritualanatomy.com. As you read each statement, reflect on how you have behaved over the past 2 weeks rather than whether you agree or disagree with the statement, and place a check mark in the appropriate box. As an example, one question reads, I accept the struggles and lessons in life. You would consider the challenges you accepted and those that troubled you over the previous 2 weeks, then select your answer. One note, a few of the questions ask about wisdom of the heart. The term wisdom of the heart refers to the wisdom that dawns when you rise above the noise of thoughts, desires, judgments, and emotions. Now, let us start the questionnaire here. First one is never, rarely, occasionally, frequently, almost, always, always. You can take a diary and you can note these options. So, first one, never. Second one, rarely. Third, occasionally. Fourth, frequently. Fifth, almost always. Sixth, always. Now, let us start the question. First question, and it comes under relationship to others. Okay. I am respective to the feelings, needs, and suffering of others. So you can choose those choices, what you are doing, right? Never, rarely, occasionally, frequently, most always, almost always, always. So what is the question? I am receptive to the feelings, needs, and suffering of others. Always, maybe. Second question, you note down your answer, okay? Second question, I notice how others react to me at the time of an interaction. I notice how others react to me at the time of an interaction. Third question, I notice my reactions to others at the time of an interaction. ஒருத்தருக்கு ஒருத்தர் இன்ட்ராக்ஷன் போயிட்டு இருக்கும்போது அவங்க எப்படி ரியாக்ட் பண்றாங்கன்னு கவனிக்கிறேன்னா நான் எப்படி ரியாக்ட் பண்றேன்னு கவனிக்கிறேன்னா. Fourth question, I consider the feelings, needs, joys and suffering of others. மற்ற பிறரின் உணர்வுகள், தேவைகள், அவங்களுடைய சந்தோஷம், கவலைகள் அதை நான் கன்சிடர் பண்றேனா. Fifth question, I consider the perspectives of others and learn from them. பிறரின் பார்வை எப்படி இருக்குது அப்படின்றதையும் நான் கன்சிடர் பண்ணி அதுல இருந்து நான் கத்துக்கிறேனா. ஓகே, நெக்ஸ்ட் questions comes under listening to the heart. Sixth question, I listen to the wisdom of my heart. Wisdom of heart means the wisdom that arises when my preconceived notions, desires, judgment and emotions are silenced. Okay, I listen to the wisdom of my heart and trust what it tells me. Seventh question, I feel guided in life by the wisdom of my heart. I feel guided in life by the wisdom of my heart. Eighth question, when making decisions and interacting with others, it is easy for me to connect with the wisdom of my heart. When making decisions and interacting with others, it is easy for me to connect with the wisdom of my heart. Ninth question, to make decisions in any situation, my heart, that is inner wisdom, guides me from a place beyond emotion and thought. 10th question, I trust my intuition. Next few questions comes under connection with the higher self. 11th question, I feel supported by a deeper reality underlying all of creation. 12th question, I feel that I am part of something greater than myself. 13th, I feel a spiritual aspect to my identity beyond my worldly identity. 14th, I feel that my consciousness is expanding. Next, 15, I have a feeling of wonder and awe about life. 16th, I have a sense of being one with all beings in the universe. Now, next few questions under acceptance and letting go. 17th one, I cheerfully embrace situations that are hard, uncomfortable, or challenging. 18th, I cheerfully adapt to life circumstances in order to grow. I cheerfully adapt to life circumstances in order to grow. I embrace all experiences of my life with joy as they unfold. 20th question, I accept the struggles and lessons in life. 21st, I use my self-awareness to realize I have choices in how to respond to situations. 22nd question, my emotions, feelings and thoughts remain balanced no matter what is going on within and around me. 23rd question, as my awareness and consciousness change, I adapt my behaviors in order to be compatible with these changes. Yes or no அப்படி நீங்க போட்டுட்டு வரலாம். Never, rarely, occasionally, frequently, almost always, always. Okay, you choose any one in these six options. Now, reflecting on the answers. இப்போ now you can you have answers with you, right? And then what you got to do now? Reflecting on the answers. Let's see. Remember, your responses are not good or bad, but rather an opportunity to develop a keener awareness of where you are. If you are as objective as possible, your answers for each question can give you a sense of those areas where you might want to focus attention and grow through your spiritual development. For example, you may notice that you are only occasionally aware of your reactions to others at the time of an interaction. This may be your answer for question 3. That is, you have chosen the answer as occasionally for the question that your reactions to others at the time of interaction. For example, you consider this. As your journey progresses, you can revisit the question to see what has changed. Okay. You may, for example, find that now you are frequently aware of your reactions at the time of interaction. Read and enjoy. Let's see. You may, for example, find that now you are frequently aware of your reactions at the time of interaction, suggesting a gradual increase in your awareness of others. That is a sign of the compassion that blossoms naturally through your journey inward. In other cases, your score may decrease over time as you become aware of the deeper meaning of the item at hand. For example, at the start, you might give a score of frequently to question 18. Question 18 is, I cheerily adapted to life circumstances in order to grow. As your journey continues, you might develop a greater appreciation for the need for cheerful acceptance and realize that there is room for improvement. Thus, the next time you complete these questions, you might score sometimes as occasionally or even rarely, indicating that you now have a greater awareness of subtle but important aspects of your reaction to life circumstances. The going down of scores can also be interpreted as the bending of the branches of a tree laden with fruit. The more you have grown, the more you yield. The questionnaire and your answers become mile markers on your voyage of consciousness. Every once in a while, return and answer these questions again. I will try to give the question in the description section. How does this help? You may have noticed that when we reread a wisdom book, we discover something we missed before. A new idea, a new concept, or a deeper understanding. The book has not changed. You have. Like that, your entries over time will reflect the distance you have gone in your invention. Okay, so let's see the next chapter in the next class. So, thank you for watching. I'll meet you in my next video. Take care. Bye bye.